Hello and welcome to Ditching Hourly. I'm Jonathan Stark. Today I am joined by guest Colyn Brown. Colyn, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Jonathan.
Hey, it's great to have you. So, why don't we start off with you giving folks a little bit of background about who you are and what you do, because this is going to be a very unusual episode. So, I think it'd be important to have some good context first.
All right, sure. Well, I've actually been a fan of yours for probably 7 or 8 years. Actually, I've been following your work, your
Cool.
hourly billing is nuts work, and have internalized it over these last several years in very helpful ways. So I just wanted to say that first.
Oh, good. Thanks.
You've been really you've had a huge impact on my side jobs. I haven't gone full time as a consultant, but it's really been very helpful for me as doing it on the side. So
Great. That's encouraging. I'll keep doing it.
so just yeah, wanted to give you some shout out there.
Appreciate it.
Um, and so I'm a web developer. That's what I do. I do web development consulting on the side. I work full time doing web development, front end development. So on the side, I think I would classify myself as sort of a startup consultant. I work with different startups and get them going architecturally, like on the front end and project wise, and set up with the teams and things like that. We do some mobile app development, front end, a lot of front end and design and user experience, product development, that kind of stuff. So I've been doing a lot of that over the last several years with my side business, In Front Labs is what I call it.
Cool.
And I've made, I started, so moving into the project that I'm working on now, like you mentioned, is quite different from what you normally talk about. I decided to start creating banjo all-star trading cards. So cards that feature banjo players that I like. And by the way, I've been learning how to play the banjo for the last 4 years. And I grew up with banjo. So it's bluegrass music, and the banjo is something I've always been interested in. And just something sort of caught my interest around the trading card concept. And so last year, around September, so really about 6 months ago, I just started this project of creating trading cards, that feature the banjo players that I like.
Cool. All
And they
right.
turned it into a little mini business. So,
All right, so let's pause there for a second. So you're a bluegrass enthusiast yourself, a listener,
uh-huh.
and started learning how to play banjo. And I mean, just to give, I'm a musician and went to music school and all that, but I don't have a sense. Bela Fleck's probably the only one I know by name. So how many banjo players are there, like that you are aware of? Are we
There's
talking
just
about like
there's
10 or
just
100?
three. No, there's just three. No, just kidding.
Out of
There's hundreds, and a lot more than I actually truly internalized or realized when I first started this project. I grew up with my dad playing banjo, and so I was really kind of growing up around what he listened to, from the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Bela Fleck was someone he did listen to, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
but he was not the only one. He's kind of classified in the less traditional sense.
Yeah, he's more fusiony or something.
There's more jazz and that kind of stuff, but he definitely has bluegrass roots. But he was taught by a guy named, or partially taught by a guy named Tony Trischka, who's also quite prominent in the bluegrass world. So he's one I wanted to feature. But I started this, like I said, about 6 months ago, thinking I would probably do about 24 cards,
Mm-hmm.
feature 24 players. And I thought that's probably good enough. But as I started working on this more and it started picking up interest, I've now grown it to 42 cards. So I'm now at, for the series one trading cards, it's going to be 42 players. And to be honest, I have not even touched the tip of the iceberg. There's just so many players that are distinctly talented and deserve to be, featured. So
Okay.
I'll likely be doing a series two, just put it
Okay.
that way.
Okay, great. Yeah, there's not a supply problem with influential banjo players.
Oh no, no.
Cool. All right. So I think you said, I think your words were, started gaining interest or picking up steam. So you decided to do this. You started off with a small number of cards and increased the number, but when interest seemed to pick up. But what was the first thing you did? You're like, yeah, I got this crazy idea. Like, I mean, people, speaking for myself, I have crazy ideas every day, pretty much. I don't act on a fraction of 1% of them. So, was there a particular thing that really captured your imagination here, or did you mention it to someone and they gave you, like, what was the thing that got you to take the first real step, and what was the first real step?
Well, first it's a mindset, to be honest, or to put it another way. As a developer, I've been working with partners and friends on side projects for many years, trying to build something that has lasting value, like a SaaS product or something like some sort of development, shopping, e-commerce app or mobile apps. I've been working on this kind of stuff for years, where I have a strong desire to build something that that I can call my own, and something I can sell or monetize. So my mind has been sort of primed for like opportunities for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of last year, a friend of mine and we developed a product, community-based sort of product, kind of similar to Patreon. I don't need to go into the details of it, but we've spent a lot of time and energy building this thing, and it just sort of we're still planning on doing something with it, but it kind of fizzled out. We're both not like strong marketing type people, but we have really good development skills and we're able to build a lot of these things. And but it's basically a product that I kind of let sit and not really do anything with, and just kind of disappointed that it didn't, we just didn't have the time or the focus or whatever it was to really give it the attention that it deserves.
Right. So you're totally primed for this kind of thing. You sort of took a swing and it's just like, kind of petered out.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you were like really feeling like, yeah, I can imagine, not to put, emotions in your head or words in your mouth, but I can imagine, like, oh, so excited about the possibilities there. It turned out to be whatever, either harder or less interesting than we thought. But man, those possibilities were really cool.
Right. There's a sort of high you get, right?
Yes.
You probably are aware of that. And a little bit of a high you get from the possibilities of what you're building. And so I'm just kind of always looking for, my mind is just sort of open to, potential opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I started a Facebook group. I wanted to start a Facebook group that was devoted to teaching beginning bluegrass musicians how to jam together, and me included. I'm a beginning musician myself, and so I wanted to be able, especially during the pandemic, you can't really do these things in person. And jamming is definitely a social in-person activity.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by jamming is, you have a fiddle player, mandolin player, banjo player, all getting together, in a circle and doing songs, bluegrass songs together. So I was thinking maybe there's something I could do virtually, like I can figure out how to do that virtually. And then I started a Facebook group to kind of see if I can drum up some interest in that area. And I started becoming friends with a lot of banjo players and musicians on Facebook, and there was just something about that experience of my Facebook profile being filled up with hundreds of banjo players, especially that I've just never known before. There's something about that sort of triggered me into the trading card idea. There was just something about the UI. I don't know what it was. I don't remember exactly, but I just dawned on me. It's like, hey, I wonder if there are trading cards for banjo players. And so there's another group on Facebook that I reached out to, and I just posed a question. This was back in May of last year. Posed a question. I said, hey, does anyone know of any does this exist or not? I would love to have them. If they do, let me know if I can, where I can find them. And then several people chimed in, said, hey, I don't think there are anything like this exists. There were some exceptions to that rule, but the general consensus was no, nothing like this exists. And then a few people chimed in and said, why don't you make them?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I do have a graphic design background, and I was thinking, well, maybe I could make them. And at that time, it was going to be just kind of DIY kind of method where I would, use my inkjet printer with some cardstock and, laminate them myself and cut them out and, maybe do 12 cards or, right. It was a very low budget concept, but I knew I needed to do, I wanted something a little bit more high quality. And so I knew I wanted to reach out to artists to be able to do the portraits for the front of the card. And I would do all the graphic design for the packaging and the back of the card.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to one artist, and we just kind of lost, just because we were both so busy, it just kind of petered out. And then fast forward from May to about September, I found another artist on Facebook. Her name is Georgina Flood. She's out of Dublin. She does a lot of work on George Harrison and the Beatles and stuff. But there was something about her style that struck me as sort of inspirational. And so I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you be willing to work with me? I'm thinking about doing 24 of these cards. Would you be willing to work with me on these?
Mm.
And she jumped at the chance. She thought it was a really great idea. And we came up with a price to work on a few portraits.
Mm-hmm.
Her first portrait was Earl Scruggs, who's basically the father of three-finger, five-string banjo playing.
Yeah, Flat and Scruggs. So I take it back. I know two.
There you go. Yeah. So Bela is definitely influenced heavily by that stuff too. And then it dawned on me, is like, well, she had the bandwidth to do all the cards, but I was thinking it would be a lot easier if I reached out to more artists. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how that project began. I now have 10 artists that are working with me on 42 different cards, probably on average about 5 or 6 each, something like that. I don't know, maybe less. There's one who did 2, and so.
Okay. And at this point, I mean, 10 artists, it's got to be a non-trivial investment. So am I correct? Like, it's not a... Yeah,
the average portrait is about, and it's hard to make an average over 10 different artists, but let's just say for example's sake, $600 a piece.
Okay. So we're talking like a small car level of investment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And because I had side income coming in from the consulting that I was doing, thank you to you, not charging by the hour, charging flat rates and stuff. I did pretty well with that on the side, some limitedness to that. But I was able to pay for some of this project. Definitely, when it was at 24 cards, I was self-funding it. Since going up to 42, and you did ask about the level of interest being increasing in this project. I did want to touch on that as well. One of the things I did, just as a quick diversion from the quick tangent, one of the things I did was a little more strategic. A lot of this has grown organically, like how it's evolved. But there was one thing I knew that I couldn't do on my own, and that was market them, like get people really getting interested in these. And one thing that I knew I needed to do was to reach out to all the musicians that I'm featuring, not just for marketing purposes, but for legal purposes.
I was going to ask, yeah.
So legally, I have to reach out to them and get their consent. And, for people like Earl Scruggs or another player, Alan Shelton, who aren't with us anymore, I have to reach out to their family and get their written permission. So I created a release form, that kind of a template that they all use. And I'm not, that's just, I've never ever done anything like that in my life, so it was a
Right.
very uncomfortable situation to begin with. But over time, after doing it, 42 times, it's you start to build it. You get the patterns down, and conversations are a little less awkward over
Hmm.
time. So that's
Hmm.
been helpful. So the idea was that by involving them, everyone has been super happy and thrilled and enthusiastic about um, participating in this. And so
Hmm.
they're sharing when a portrait is completed, say of Carl Jackson, or anyone else who's online, they're going to share that portrait on their Facebook pages or Instagram or wherever, and
Hmm.
let people know about this thing that they're involved with. And so that, if it weren't for that, probably wouldn't be talking to you today.
Right. Right.
Uh, so it's really, I truly owe it to them for those for sharing my work with and these trading cards
Mm.
with their fans. So that's how the interest really picked up, and then media outlets started picking up on that as well. And I was in
That's
the
wild.
newspaper and in Bluegrass Today on the website and stuff. So
That's
even a
great.
couple radio interviews as well. So it's starting to pick up a lot of interest.
Interesting.
Um,
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm curious if you could just tell me, like an order of magnitude in terms of complexity, how weird the money got with any of the banjo players. Like, are they all, did they get weird about it, or was it very easy and not a big deal?
for the vast majority, maybe 41 of them went completely smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, the difficult thing was we've had several of the players that I was planning on featuring pass away just this last year,
Oh, geez.
all together in the same year. We had Sonny Osborne, J.D. Crowe, Bill Emerson, all of these players I was in line to speak to. Actually, I did speak to J.D. Crowe a month before he passed, which was in December. He passed in December. I spoke with him in like October or November,
Mm.
and he was happy to be included. I've never had any real pushback around any of this. There was one artist or one player I posted. I never reached out to their family at this point. This was back in like October. I had one portrait done of Doug Dillard, and I didn't know it. He passed away in I don't know, 70s or 80s,
Hmm.
something, maybe
Hmm.
80s. I don't know. I forget. Um, he I didn't reach out to any of the family, and then I posted the image on my Facebook, and then someone reached out to me who represents his estate.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
we discussed this and had some good conversations, and she turned out to be a very positive supporter of this project, and so we worked something out, and yeah, so he's able to be included as a result. But
Mm.
other than that, yeah, it's been super smooth. Everyone's been really happy.
Mm. Word of the wise, don't spring stuff on people. Okay.
And the biggest challenge right now, though, is now that it's getting media attention, there is a little bit of a blessing and a curse to it,
Hmm.
because people don't know who I am, and so I'm not the only one, and the players aren't the only ones, spreading this stuff around, and so like different news outlets are mentioning it, and so it's getting shared sort of more organically around social media, and so people don't know who I am, like I said, and
Mm.
they don't really know the origins of this project or why I'm doing it. My dad was a banjo player. It's really all about that, my musical background, and, with my family, my mom being an artist and stuff.
Hmm.
I'm not some big corporate
Yes.
entity. And so
Toss.
there's a sort of misconception that people have, and they mean well, but if they're if I were to include all of the players that people claim I'm, are mad or a little, I wouldn't say mad, but uneasy. I don't know what the right word is, but uneasy about me, quote unquote, excluding certain players. If
Oh,
I were
I
to
see.
add, I would need at least $50,000 and another year or two if I were to include all of the players that people have said I needed to include.
Right, because you've kind of curated the top 42, I think you said,
Yeah.
in your mind, and it's like, oh, how could you
Well, it's
not?
like not
Yeah,
even, well, it's not, it's more organic. It's more like lucky. The 42 that I have has not been a really deliberate search. So I was only, not when in the beginning, I don't know anybody. I don't know any of the players, right? So there's a sort of uphill battle that I have to fight in order to get them involved. How am I going to reach them, for instance, right? They have agents and they have layers in between them in order for me to get in touch with them, right? So it's more of a snowball effect. So I reach out, I finally get to one, but then that one is able to get me in touch with others. You know what I mean?
right.
And so a lot of the players are a result that I've chosen. The 42 are a result of me just sort of connecting the dots. So one player will say, "Hey, I'm recommending this other player. You really need to include this player." And I'll be like, "Yeah, very very happy to include them." And they would get me in touch with them. And so
Right.
it's the path of sort of the least resistance to really start including
Oh,
the
wow.
recommended players. And so I'm really lucky to have the 42. So it's really not about who I excluded, but the fact that I was able to even include the 42 is a miracle to me. So
Gotcha. Yeah, real organic. You're sort of crawling their social network. It's not like, Rolling Stone top 100 banjo players of all time,
right.
right? It's more like who
And
can you
so
get in
people are
touch
a little
with?
bit upset about that,
Yeah.
that I don't have like um, what do you call it? Like when the people who do the award ceremonies, they have full boardrooms and
Yeah,
people trying
exactly.
to figure out who to select, and that's just not me, So
Right, right. All right, so it sounds like there were a bunch of things. It must have taken a long time to get in touch with all those people. So, what was the next process that you started after you started reaching out to the artists? You've got. Sorry, that when I say artists, I mean the banjo players. So you've
yeah.
got artists, visual or whatever, painters or something, making the artwork for the cards, and then you start this process of getting release paperwork from the banjo players. And I'm sure both of these things are sort of playing out over time. And like, what was the next thing you did to? I think you mentioned that you did pre-sales at some point. Where did that happen in the timeline?
Okay, yeah, that was pretty soon after I started. After I got at least two or three portraits completed, the Earl Scruggs was done. So I was able to use those portraits as sort of marketing to kind of present, hey, this is what I'm doing,
Hmm.
starting to drum up some interest with those portraits. And they look pretty cool. So um, people are like, wow, and so I just used it a little bit for advertising to let people know what's coming. And then around, I think November is when I decided to flip the switch for pre-sales.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
beginning of
And where
November.
was that like a Kickstarter type of thing, or were you?
No, I just did a Shopify store and put up a product, put up some images and a
Mhm.
description, and I have and I built my own, I built my own website, but then just for the front page because
Yeah.
I have more control over the design, but then the actual shopping experience is through Shopify.
Mhm.
Um, and
And so, what does someone just from a product standpoint? What does someone buy? Like some number of individual cards, or do they buy a pack? Like I'm not really a
they
I
buy
was
it. Yeah, it's going to be in packs. I'm
okay.
going to be doing, and this is a number that I've been sort of toying around with for the whole time. Like, how many packs should I be printing?
Yeah.
It was a big question. And when I first started, I was thinking maybe, I'll just print up like 500 cards.
Hmm.
And the printer that I'm working with convinced me to do 5,000.
Yeah. I
And
agree. Yeah, because if you're selling them
so
in packs, it's like
I
I don't.
meant, did I say cards? I meant 500 packs.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to do 500 packs. And in the
Okay.
beginning, a pack meant like 6 cards with a
Hmm.
total of 24 cards.
Hmm.
So that's quite a bit smaller than what it is today.
Yeah.
So a pack it'll be 8 cards. And then of those 8 cards, there's going to be one limited edition card that's
Nice.
going to be foil printed.
Nice.
and that'll be like a player that's commemorative, like JD Crowe or Sonny Osborne.
Hmm.
And
So you don't know, you'll buy a pack, you don't know what you're getting. It's like a blind
no,
bag.
you don't. But I mean, there's only 42 total, so uh, kind of statistically, or on average, if you were to buy 12 packs, because there's one commemorative card per pack, one
Hmm.
limited edition card per pack,
Hmm.
and there are 12 limited edition cards. So if you bought 12 packs, you're likely to get all of the cards. You'll have some doubles, but at least you'll have all of them.
Yeah, I
So
mean
you'll have
the
96 total, not 42 total.
well, so here's, I mean, and they're called trading cards, right? So you end up with, it's good to have doubles. That's kind of the
Yeah.
fun of it. It's part of the
So
fun.
yeah, and
Hmm.
so that's why I'm not going to be selling. Oh, here's the whole 42. Here's the 40 set of 42.
No,
I
okay.
might down the road if people are banging down my door for them, but I'm going to be selling sets of 12. So there'll be a pack with a display box that has 12 packs in them, and they're guaranteed to be the complete set.
Right, that makes sense. Okay. So, all right. So what's next? Like what happens?
Yeah.
It sounds
So I
like
reached.
yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so I reached out to you because I don't know what I'm not I wasn't 100% sure what I was gonna do
Mm-hmm.
the next stage. Number one, I do have some particular goals,
Hmm.
uh, and that is to pay off the debt that I'm in as a
Sure,
result of this. So
sure.
I'll just tell you, when this is all said and done, I'll be probably about 40K in, and I'm not afraid to be that transparent about it.
Yeah, that's
Most
about what
people
I
that
would guess. Yeah, this is like a non-trivial undertaking. Hmm.
Yeah. So I, I'm not 100% certain. I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasm and people are excited about these cards. And I've already sold 550 packs pre-sale.
Hmm.
So, I mean, between November and now, that's not an non-trivial amount of cards for something you're not even getting until, in April 2022.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's a great sign. If the pre-sale is any indication, you sell, sorry, you said 500 and
50,
500
yeah.
plus packs, not
Cards. Yeah, packs.
packs.
I
Okay.
say cards again?
Don't know. Just
Maybe.
check. I
I
just
say
wanted to.
cards a lot when I do mean packs. Yeah.
Okay. So, if you, I mean, nobody's got a crystal ball, but if you can sell 500 plus, you're definitely going to go through 5,000, because once people have them in their hands and they're sharing pictures of the physical thing in their social media, and probably you take 100 or maybe even 500 of the 5,000 and send them to for free to influencers, people in the, I don't know, in the music journalism space, or people who are well placed in the bluegrass space, or someone who runs, like, I
Yeah.
don't know if there's like a trade association or something. But you send them out, say, hey, compliments. I just wanted to compliments of me. I just wanted to let you know that these exist, and I hope you enjoy them. And maybe here's a hashtag, a social media hashtag that you can use to connect with other people who have them in case you want to trade or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's a good idea.
yeah, I would be definitely giving away like at least 100 packs to
I'm
them.
I'm definitely giving all the players that I'm working with, and all the artists, they're getting packs for
Sure,
sure.
sure.
But also the one thing that many of the players asked for from the beginning is the ability to sell these at their events, at a wholesale price. So there is a wholesale angle to this, and I don't,
Oh, that's huge.
so yeah,
Yeah, that's huge. Okay, cool.
so there is definitely a wholesale. I don't know if I want to, at what percentage am I going to sell, at wholesale? At the moment, I've allocated, of the 5,000 packs, I reserved 1,250 packs to be shared among the players to sell
Mm.
at a wholesale price.
Mm-hmm.
The wholesale price has varied over time, but now I've now set on on one solid number that I've been sharing, and I'm not afraid to share. Maybe I won't share it, but but the wholesale price is available for them, and they've been really happy about that. but if all 42 of my players, whether it's the actual player or their family, took me up on the offer, that would average about 30 packs per player at 1,250 packs,
Hmm.
So that's not really that many. It's not a
Yeah.
meaningful number.
Yeah.
If they made, what are they going to make? $200 or something, I don't
Right, but they'll
know.
need more than that. I mean, I don't know how much these people are playing, but presumably, I mean, I went to a Flex show in the 90s and it was like, there's definitely 1,500 people there. So, and a merch table with t-shirts and bandanas and mugs and everything. And like it would just slot in there perfectly. You could probably sell a pack for $30. So, at the show, right? Maybe sell signed ones, or there's like so many possibilities.
So
Um,
maybe what? So what?
Signed ones. Like you could, it's
Oh,
like a,
right. Yeah, they want to sign them for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
And the other thing is, I am printing up individual cards. If a player asks me they want their own card,
yeah.
then I'll work with the printer and I do that at cost for them.
Hmm.
So I'm not making any profit on that.
It's great. You know what I love about this is that it answers the earlier question I had about like if anybody got weird about the money. But this is great because you did all the legwork to create what could be a thriving little cottage industry. They didn't have to do anything other than have a successful career and all that, but they didn't have to do anything for this new potential revenue stream for them to sell signed trading cards on their website for $50 each. I'm sure they're not paying you $50 for a trading card.
Yeah, and
So
the portraits that I'm doing too. From the very beginning, I knew that. I mean, even just for practical purposes, I'm not going to hold on to all these paintings. But just because these are my heroes, I wanted to give them a gift. So I'm giving out for all the players. I'm giving them the original painting.
they're actual paintings.
Oh, they're paintings. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. If
Wow.
are you going to show this on YouTube or not? But I have
Uh,
sitting behind me is a bunch of the portraits that were shipped to me.
yeah, I saw those when we first logged in. I didn't realize those were, I don't know, I just figured those were printouts or something. So, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
portraits. Now the catch is not really a catch. It's kind of a strong word, but I told them that I plan on doing a showing of all of the portraits when they're done,
Yeah.
and because they just look so amazing together. That was not my original intention. That's something else that sort of just happened that just inspired me. Is that when the paintings started coming into my house and I was hanging them up, it made me realize, oh, they need to stay together,
Right.
or at least for a little while, they need to
Yes.
stay together. And so I'm definitely playing with the idea of doing a showing, and it's probably going to be an event called IBMA,
Hmm.
International Bluegrass Music Association,
Cool.
and it's every year around September, early October, or something like that,
Hmm.
in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hmm.
And so a lot of people there every year. It's an awards thing. They give out awards to banjo players, mandolin bands, and stuff like that. So I'm probably going to do an exhibit there, a large exhibit,
Hmm.
have a booth, that's quite a nice size to be able to show all the portraits. And I'd like to have a lot of merchandise there to sell, not just the cards. So that's the other thing I wanted to figure out
Hmm.
ways to expand into is how can I merchandise some of these things and work with the players to come up with, posters and stickers and
Yeah, exactly.
t-shirts and stuff, and give them, not just make the money for myself, but this is really a product, almost like I'm working for them, a
Hmm.
service that I'm doing for them,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my brain's exploding with ideas. Everything from you could get a sort of like some kind of collage of all the paintings and sell everything from like posters to puzzles. There's like on the one end and on the other end, like NFT drop in 3, 2, 1 with royalties going to the artists. I mean, there's like the the piece that you facilitated the act of creation, first of all, the idea, and then follow through to the point of getting the paintings made, there's like a dozen things you could do easily. It would be work, but when I say easily, I mean they're obvious.
Right.
And the angle of providing the stuff at cost, or maybe a tiny markup just for headaches and whatnot, or returns, a tiny markup to the artists themselves who have their own audiences. It's good for them. It's good for the community, whatever, the enthusiasts, and you're doing a cool thing. Hopefully you'd be making enough on the margin. Like maybe you're the one that has the deal with the puzzle company, but and you get some kind of deal from, I don't know who makes puzzles, but that would be so cool. I would completely do that. Like we do puzzles every year on New Year's Eve because we're boring.
Oh wow. I
Yeah.
never thought of doing a puzzle, but it's funny because my wife and I we do puzzles every now and then, and we don't we kind of get sucked into them, and I
Yeah.
didn't even think of that as a thing. So.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be so cool. And but obviously posters, you could do like a really fancy framed, physical framed display. It's not a case. I mean, it would be something you would hang, but you could do a really elaborate, sell it for $5,000, of like, and it's not that it's the presentation or the arrangement of the thing.
Yeah.
And people that are into it, that don't want to go through they just want to write a check and have it, and they don't want to go through like, oh, let me buy 12 packs and then I'll piece it together and then I'll get a mat cut and do all that stuff. The convenience layer, it would be potentially really cool. And there's like no end. T-shirt, like,
I know. That's what sort of paralyzes me, to be honest.
yeah.
Like the thing about this process is that everything has sort of happened as a leap of faith,
Hmm.
without too much anxiety over what should I do, what should I do, what should I do. It's
Hmm.
just sort of like I kind of keep my what is the saying, ear to the ground a little bit, and
Hmm.
just sort of let things come my way that seem obvious and logical,
Hmm.
and just sort of maybe, and then just build on that.
Yep.
you
Yeah.
know and,
So, right.
but
Because
so it
you're
is a
right.
little bit, it is a little bit paralyzing to kind of think of all the things, because now, well, which one do I do?
Yeah. Totally.
And then the other thing, when I reached out to you at that time, I was seriously considering doing some kind of subscription service. I'm less keen on that now, but at the time I was thinking maybe that was some way to make this work. And going back to my background as a web developer, e-commerce, and my friend and I, we've always been wanting to do some sort of SaaS subscription type of thing.
Right.
So that's always been on the back of my mind, is like, how can I do some kind of monthly income service? And I was thinking about doing that with the cards, where series one would wrap up, but then I would follow that up with a subscription service where every month I send you another card. There are at least 100 other players, banjo players, that people are screaming at me that they'd like to see, but I want to see them too. And it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to get to them.
Yeah.
And so, but if I had some sort of subscription service, I might, I would be able to do, like, send out a monthly card and maybe some posters or discounts along with that subscription, to posters and
Hmm.
discounts in my store and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But
Maybe
I don't know. I was
that feels
thinking
like a
about it.
stretch.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the trading card concept.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if everyone's getting the same card every month, then you don't need the trade, right? So
Yeah, it feels out of alignment. There could be something. There could be. Yeah, I don't feel the subscription. I love the subscription model. I think if you were going to leverage this into other things, which is yet another vector you could take, it could be something like. I mean, this is insane, and it wouldn't be what you would want to do, but it could be like Netflix for people into banjo players, like banjo all stars, desktop concert series or something, and every periodically, once or twice a month or something, you get a new remote, like you were talking about before, like a remote concert
mm,
where a particular banjo player maybe does a solo piece,
Right.
or
Oh,
almost
that's
like a
interesting.
master class thing
I
where
was
they
thinking
talk
that.
about, yeah. And then if you know maybe you record 10 of them, like real high end master class of like these people telling their story, and you launch with that, and it's like $9 a month or something, and you do another interview every month or two. I don't know if that would be enough content to keep people subscribed, but you know,
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. The event, sort of doing like events, because the on the card, on the back of the card, it says, well, my company name, I created a company around this called Bluegrass Trading Company.
mm-hmm,
And on the back of the card, it says Bluegrass Trading Company presents
mm-hmm,
Banjo All Stars, right?
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
the presents sort of made me think, oh, what if I got into like the event space or something? I
Right. Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
another vector, right? You could have a,
Yeah,
you know, bluegrass trading company um, show, right? Like a physical in person, you know, hopefully someday if
yeah.
everybody's, but the,
No, but even it, like you said, even if it were virtual or something, right, where you a
mm,
subscription based thing,
mhm.
live events or something too,
Yeah, the
that would be kind
subscription
of
thing
neat.
feels, that feels like a stretch. The closest thing I can think of that feels like it might be interesting would be some kind of like membership, not a subscription so much as like a loyalty thing, where maybe they pay once a year to be in the fan club, but the artists are going to have these on their own. So
Yeah,
I would think it feels like the wrong point it feels like the wrong place to put something like that. But you could imagine
yeah.
something like, you know, you've got your Bluegrass Trading Company. Is that what you said? Bluegrass Trading Company?
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that name. So Bluegrass Trading Company badge or something, and when they go to um, events that you sponsor or something, then they get in for free, or they get backstage, or they get, you know, it'd be like a fan club across all. It'd be like a banjo fan club
Hmm.
instead of a specific fan club for. But I'm really this is a real stretch. I don't think this would be is a great idea. It's too weird.
It
But
could be used for outreach, like brand awareness,
mhm.
sponsoring different events, and then I would give out, coupons or something like that to get in either for free or at a discount or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like
That could
that.
work well for brand awareness if I have the budget for it.
Yeah,
But
it's I'm trying to explore this sort of subscription space. I'm not finding much stuff there. I think that idea that I just had is not that great. Um, but you could go in
one of
another direction
the
completely and become a little bit more of, you know, you could branch out to fiddle after banjo, or you could
well,
do,
let
yeah, go
me
ahead.
touch on that really quick. There was a lot of talk around, a lot of people are saying sort of the logical next step. Oh, are you going to do mandolin or,
Hmm.
fiddle or cards? And uh, I'm passionate about bluegrass music. So whether it's mandolin or fiddle or banjo, of course, but I realized that there's a lot of work to do. There's this project, the banjo specific project is not done.
Hmm.
So there's one thing I know I need to do, and that is do a series two for banjo players.
Hmm.
There's just it's just the 42 is just not enough.
Hmm.
There's people want to see more, and I get that.
Yeah,
And
you're
so I
getting
know I'm
literal
not.
demand,
Yeah,
literal demand.
people pay companies pay big bucks for the kind of feedback that I'm getting.
Yeah.
The hate, even the most sort of critical ones, companies pay for that kind of feedback too, right? Because it's valuable.
Yes.
And so where there's emotion involved in the feedback, that to me means that I can do something with that.
Right.
People are saying, hey, why don't you include this? And well, I mean, I will
Hmm.
make sure you're around for series two,
Right. Right.
don't. And so that's the one thing. If I were to narrow down my focus a little bit on all the possibilities, the one thing I definitely want to do is a series two.
Hmm.
The difference between series two and series one, though, is that I had the money and some credit cards now to pay for series one.
Right.
But with series two, I'm a bit out now, so
Right.
I have to rely on when these ship in April to be able to pay off some debt and then be able to fund the next series. And I want the next series to be even bigger than series one, because I've learned a lot along the way, and there's certain things that I'd like to do with series two that is going to be a little more expensive even than the 40 that I've already paid,
Hmm.
that I'm paying for on series one.
Mm.
So now I'm kind of figuring out ways to get funding for that. So whether that's like maybe a Kickstarter or I don't know yet. So I haven't really figured that out. But I need to do it. I need to do a series two.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, ideally, of course, you'd get it from selling those 5,000 packs. So,
Right. Or the other things that I have in mind, like posters and shirts and stuff,
right.
you know.
Yeah, I feel like the merch stuff's really obvious, and that stuff's probably a lower lift. Maybe it's a bit bigger lift if you want to do really quality stuff. But you can go to like Teespring or whatever, and I don't know. It's
I did print up one shirt for a player named Snuffy Jenkins. He's a big hero of many of the other players that I've featured,
hmm.
and he's from years ago. Years ago, he's more of an old time player. But I
Hmm.
made some shirts, and I'm using a service called Printful, so
Hmm.
it's print on demand. It
Yeah.
seems, and I gave out 10 of those to different people online to help evaluate the end to end service of
Yeah.
using a third party to print them and ship them and do all the fulfillment and everything.
Hmm.
And that turned out well. So I'll
Cool.
be selling those in earnest.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how over the top this might be, but I could imagine a situation when you've got the stuff ready, or maybe you do the gallery show at the trade show with all of the paintings, and then this is over the top, but if you could travel to the banjo player, present the painting to them, and film like a high quality interview while you're there. Say, hey, I'd like to come and uh,
all right.
and then all of those interviews, I mean, like, I don't know, maybe the interviews turn into a coffee table book, or Ken Burns picks it up and wants to do a bluegrass documentary or
Oh,
something. Or
interesting.
yeah, I mean,
Interesting.
there's so many things you could do to it. And so the thing that you
I
will
thought I
have,
Yeah.
the thing that you'll have that is maybe fairly unique, is goodwill, access to all of these players and goodwill from this partnership that you've created. Is just so much goodwill, right? And you'll be uniquely positioned to like do a banjo all stars like giant jam session, like live
Right.
aid banjo edition, right? I mean, it's almost like you've got, I'm sure agents and stuff and people in the industry have this kind of access, but you're coming at it from a completely different place. So, you're not this like grizzled industry veteran. Um,
Right.
and you've demonstrated that you can like make something out of nothing. Like you made something happen out of nothing. So that's like a very specific kind of person that's tough to find. So there might be, I mean, the players might have some ideas. So like, maybe ask the players like what would be cool. What do you think would be cool? I've got a bunch of different ideas. I'd love to kind of brainstorm with you. Like maybe all they really care about is like not getting left out, being in the list of this cool thing that's happening, being included and not excluded, and an extra revenue stream of merch for their shows and on their fan club and their website or whatever. Maybe that's all they care about, or maybe it sounds like a lot of them are pretty old, so there might be sort of a legacy thing that's on their mind that you could
Hmm.
you could help them execute against. Like God, I mean, like lessons almost, like them as a group, like one by one, you going through and saying like, "Hey, I'm a novice banjo person. I want to record your technique for the ages so that it's not forgotten." I'm sure they've done some of this at like I don't know, like whatever. If there's a NAM show for banjo players, I'm sure there's some of that out there. But to kind of document their story and their technique from a player perspective, not like a
Who their
fan
influences
perspective.
are.
Yeah, and so that future banjo players will know, the kind of stuff that I wish I knew about Jimi Hendrix, but I can't. That doesn't exist. So, who knows? Maybe there is a sort of a masterclass angle there where as a player, you talk to these players and get their, why do you do it like that? How did you come up with the three finger thing? Or like, Scruggs isn't around anymore, but these three people knew him.
Right.
So right? So there could be almost documentary like, but for musicians, like actual players, not fans. That might be
Yeah, or
kind of
even
cool.
maybe like a podcast or something, huh?
Yeah, could be.
Do it as
I
a
mean,
podcast.
it would lend itself to an audio format really well. It would be really nice. I mean, obviously, it would probably 10x the cost to do like some kind of a video thing, but
Where I
um,
would have to travel and show up.
probably,
Definitely would be better in person because
yeah,
it's more intimate.
agreed. Yeah. So, I know we both got a hard stop coming up quick, but this is really exciting. I think you've identified your main problem is there are too many good ideas. There are too many good next steps. But I guess the thing I would emphasize, my favorite part about this story for the listener, I think it's less about like how to monetize this thing and like make it self-sustainable and all that. It's more about having a crazy idea, getting enough feedback to convince yourself that there could be something there, and then following through, making the investment. And I mean, it hasn't even been a year, right?
No, just about 6 months.
Yeah,
It
so
was
6 months
yeah.
and 40 grand. That's non-trivial, but but look at all the things it potentially unlocks. It unlocks so much potential stuff. It just is really a question of executing against those things. Like, how do you fund those things? Pick the right ones. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, it's been big, lots of surprises and moving parts, and I'm really excited. Like what you said, is the fact that I executed on something and delivered. That's something I've always kind of dreamed of. So, and it
cool.
is kind of fell in my lap. So,
Yeah, well, it wasn't all luck, that's for sure.
no.
Well, definitely keep me in the loop. I know we're in touch over email, but I'll update people when like I don't. You probably have pre-sales now. I can put links in the show notes and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah,
Pre-sales are, by the way, they're about $14 a pack
cool,
through the end of this month.
cool.
When at the end of this month, I send everything to the printer,
Hmm.
and then he promises to get everything to me by April, and in which case I'll be shipping everything out in April. So, and in
Killer.
April the price goes up to, in March the price will go up to 20 per pack.
Hmm. Cool. You'll be seeing my name on an order form.
Oh, cool. Well, then
Excellent.
this interview paid for itself.
Excellent. Cool. All right. So just to make sure, in case you haven't mentioned it yet or mentioned it enough, where can people go to find out more about everything that you're doing?
So my website is bluegrasstradingcompany.com, and then company is just spelled with CO, not the full spelled company, just bluegrasstradingco.com. And then
Great.
I'm on Instagram and on Facebook as well. Instagram has a good feed for all, so you can see all the different portraits.
Mm,
I post all the portraits there, and it's nice and organized in a way where you can just kind of see all of them together.
cool.
So,
Great. Great work. All right, folks. That's it for this week. I'm Jonathan Stark, and I hope you join me again next time for Ditching Hourly. Bye.